But just welcome two lovely guests into the studio. Jimmy Nail and the writer of shows like The Likely Lads, Auf Wiedersehen, Pet, of course, Ian La Frenais, are working together on a brand new play. And they join me now. Welcome, fellas.
Good afternoon.
Now, you've been very busy. You've been having a chat with Carol round the corner for the telly.
Yeah.
And we thought, right, well, we'll have a chat with you as well. But before we talk about the brand new play, it's called Seconds Away. Jimmy, I have to say, it's been a long time since we've met. I'm going to take you back to 1991. And in the centre of Newcastle, there was the filming of Spender.
Uh-huh.
And Series 1, Episode 6 was called Dance Girl Dance.
Oh, yes.
I'm just going to remind you of the synopsis. Hold on a second. Spender suspects that Palmer supplies underage dancers to a Barcelona nightclub. You're reunited with one of the dancers.
You can't throw this at me after 32 years. No, do you know what? I think I remember the writer was called John Harvey, if I remember rightly. It was an episode written by somebody called John Harvey because Ian was so busy with his highfalutin Hollywood duties that he couldn't do them all. So we had a few writers come in. I think it was a guy called John Harvey wrote that episode.
And there we were.
What's good is she was cast. If she hadn't been, this would have been a really uncomfortable interview.
It would have been, wouldn't it?
Yes. Oh, you're the two people that didn't cast me in Spender.
Well, no, you could have hit the cutting room floor. That would have been even more awkward.
It would have been. Well, it wasn't because I did swear. I had two lines and I swore. And my nana said to us, "You know what, Jill? I've been telling everyone at the bingo that you're on Spender, and you swore." And she wasn't very happy with the swearing. She was going to give us a clip.
Yeah, the mums don't like the bad language.
No, and same with you as well. It's been over the years, Jimmy.
Yeah. At the end of the first series of Auf Wiedersehen, Oz was lying in bed and he'd had an altercation with some Germans, and the gag was that he had some German blood, as he said, swelling around inside of us. And when the show had finished, I rang my mum and I said, "Well, what did you make of all that?" Thinking I'd get some kind of praise. And there was silence on the line. And I said, "Hello?" And she eventually said, "Oh, Jimmy, you've been fighting again." I said, what? She said, "I saw you, the black eyes, the thing in your arm." I said, "No, it wasn't. It wasn't real, Mum." She said, "Oh, she didn't believe it."
That's what they do, innit? They tell you off.
Well, people take it, it was, it made such an impression on people. People still talk about it a lot.
Of course. I mean, there's the fan clubs. And I remember the very first episode, my dad was working away. He'd gone to work away and we dropped him off at the ferry. And we came back and Auf Wiedersehen Pet was on. And you lot are going on the ferry across to Germany.
Oh.
And my dad was working away for 6 weeks.
Right.
Isn't that funny? And it was at that time, of course.
Serendipitous.
Yeah, we used to, it was hugely popular. And then, of course, movies and films and back to the theatre. And that's what we're going to talk about right now. So it's a new project. It's called Seconds Away. So describe it for me, if you can.
You go first.
Well, I first heard about it when Jimmy played me these great songs, and he said the songs were to accompany an idea he'd had for a play. And it's not a musical, it's like a play with music. And I said, "Oh," and then Jimmy got me involved. It's very different for both of us. It's not the most obvious thing you'd have thought, but Jimmy had this idea. Some image had stuck in Jimmy's mind for years about this old sad man on a train, or was it on a ferry, and about a boxer. And so the lead character, Jimmy's character, is an aging boxer suffering from health issues, looking back on his life and dealing with the issues and the toxicity of a bad family situation, a certain amount of guilt, certain amount of defiance, as he, to quote Shakespeare, rails against the dying of the light. And it's very human. And any excuse for me to come back to be involved in another Northeastern thing was irresistible. So I said, "I'm in, Jimmy, whenever you want and whatever you want me to do." And since then, of course, we've just worked on on the script together.
So where are we now then? Because it isn't ready to go just yet. We're going to see some snippets of it very soon.
Well, no, it's a work in progress. Sorry, Jim. It's a work in progress.
It's not. If I can just explain, it's not snippets. You'll get the whole play finished,
okay,
and you'll get all the songs. Currently standing at 31 in number. You'll get all of that. You'll get musicians on the stage with actors on the stage. You simply won't have a set, is what you won't have. And what it is, a staged reading. They're becoming more, not popular is the word, they're becoming more necessary because the financial costs of mounting a production are so high that the backers want to try and make sure that they've got it as right as they can get it. So this is a staging before it's full production, so we can get a bit of feedback to see, first of all, if people like the idea, if people enjoy the story, if people like the songs. So that's what this is about. But it's the finished article in as much as it's everything other than a set.
So as the audience, we're coming in and we're seeing something that's not in its genesis, but we're going to see you on there. And then when you say feedback, does that mean the audience are able to say what they liked, what they tweaked, what they loved, what they weren't so sure about?
What I think live theatre is planning to do is to have a QR code in the foyer after the show, and you can scan it with your smartphone, and it'll take you to a very simple one sheet questionnaire, and we can get some feedback. So it's important that we can get some feedback from the audience, from the people of Newcastle and surrounding districts, to give us their feedback on what they think, because it's set in Newcastle. It's about Newcastle, and it's been created by two people from Newcastle.
Of course. And in terms of the music, you mentioned 31 songs. I mean, does this mean we're going to be locking the doors and we'll not get the last Metro?
Do you know what? We had a script meeting today, and I said to Ian, I've got a suggestion. He said, oh, God.
Not another song.
I said, I want to put this song here. So that's 32. A lot of those are reprises, though. You know, it's not... It would be a bit much to ask an audience to sit through 32 unknown pieces. So at least some of these themes are revisited. But there'll be a lot of music.
Yeah.
And Ian's contribution is the scenes, the dialogue,
of course,
the humour, the sadness, or that side of it.
How do you work together? I mean, you go back a long way. So as pals, as well as workmates in some respects. So how does that process work between you?
Well, it's always been long distance, because obviously COVID and this, just everything's remote or on FaceTime or Zoom. But then even before that, Spender, again, I was in one country, he was in another country. It's weird, that, isn't it? I mean, all our working things we've done together. And then the Auf Wiedersehen, and when we brought Auf Wiedersehen back, which was an idea of Jimmy's and Frank Rodham's about the Teesside Bridge, that again, everything was separated. So we're kind of used to it now. It's really weird being with them in the same room.
It must be. But also it must be strange because you're not living here. Things have changed massively in the last decade, in the last 20 years. So getting a feel for the place and visiting the North East, you must see a lot of changes.
Well, I'm always terrified of being asked that question because I never can come up with a sharp enough answer. Because, no, not massive changes. I've always come to the Northeast twice a year. And it was only COVID that stopped that. I mean, I did hear the Whitley Bays trending. That was a shock. That was an enormous shock. I still don't quite believe it, but that's the word.
I think it's going to be incredible, and to see this in its form, for us to be up close, hearing the story for the very first time, and you getting the feedback and then creating it and taking it on the road. Is that the plan?
That's the usual route, if it works, and we all agree that it's worth taking to the next level, the next stage. That's the next thing, is to do a full production, most likely at Live Theatre. Put it on as a fully mounted production, and then tour it. But you know what? it's dangerous to get too far ahead. Just do one thing at a time. Let's see if February, between the 6th and the 17th, goes well. I must say, though, I've been back in Newcastle for about 5 years. I came back to do something, and so Ian visits, but I've been back for a good few years now, after 40 odd years in the Big Smoke, and so it's a little different for Ian, because his life has been in the Hollywood Hills for 50 years.
And what will you do then for this short visit? Where have you been pottering around? Where have you been? You've been for a chippy tea down the beach?
Ian was involved in the worst piece of scheduling in the world last night, because I rang up and said, I've got TNT Sport to watch the game, right?
Yep.
And he said, I can't, I'm doing a Q&A at the Whitley Bay Film Festival. Who scheduled that? Who scheduled
So
I've
you
got
missed the
it on the telly.
Yeah,
So
but
I
also
can't.
I'm talking to an audience of 500 or 600 for 2 hours, an hour and a half, and know that every man hates me because their wife dragged them. And I did see at one point in the evening, I could hear one of those, clicks of a cell phone. And I said,
Checking.
all right, what's the score?
Yeah. That's the way to do it, isn't it? Certainly.
It was terrible timing. Even me, I was horrified. I said to the audience that I'd rather be watching the game than you.
You have to wheel a massive telly in and watch a little bit. Well, there was a staged reading of Seconds Away, so it's on at Live Theatre on the Quayside in February, but the tickets are on sale now.
Yes, they are. They've got some left. I think it's selling well.
Yeah.
I think they've done about 80% of the tickets already. So
Will you just do one show then? Or will you do
no, we're doing
2
15
brilliant,
15
right.
different shows.
And
15 performances.
You should come.
I will come. I'll come along. And if you need a pole dancer for the background who might be shipped off to Barcelona.
No, wait a minute. Did you play a dancer, or were you a dancer?
I was a dancer,
You were?
playing a dancer.
Oh my God.
In
Right,
the
okay.
background in a leotard and tights.
Well, shuffle down to the Quayside
Well,
in
there
February.
you go. And we'll do a bit of schmoozing in the
A
background.
bit of reminiscence.
First thing I do when I get home is find this episode
Yeah, exactly.
and just see
You'll see massive perm.
massive perm.
And on the stage, and I think one line in a toilet saying to a girl in my school uniform saying, I've got to go back to school.
Oh,
There we are.
well, we look forward to digging that one out.
My goodness. It's lovely to meet you both. Thank you
Okay.
very much for popping in. I know you've had such a busy day. Jimmy Nail and Ian La Frenais, thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you.